Hey, thanks for coming back. I missed you. If you're not a subscriber yet, click that subscribe button so next time I can say I missed you too. Thanks for clicking on this review. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, and we're going to talk about Stephen Curry, Underrated. This is a documentary that's currently on Apple Plus. So if you've already got the subscription, you've already got this documentary. You don't have to do anything else. You can just click on it. It has audio description, which is great, but Apple Plus is usually pretty solid about audio description. I haven't found something without audio description yet because all their stuff is original. So occasionally they offer a licensed title as part of some promotion that coincides with something, but other than that, that's only like maybe anywhere from like 1 to 5 titles. Never more than 5. I've never seen more than 5 offered. So the rest of it is all audio described, always, all the time, which is nice and reliable. And I'm going with Stephen because that's how I've always heard his name pronounced. Basketball was basically the only sport I ever paid attention to before blindness. And it was because I enjoyed playing basketball video games, and I then also felt the need to watch the actual sport to keep up with it, so I knew like who I was supposed to be playing with and who these players were. So I did keep track that way of players. I was one of those people who's like a finals watcher, who slid in at the end and tried to be like, yeah. So yeah, I know most people just say Steph Curry, but I've never heard Stephen Curry until now. It's used in the audio description, and it bothered me. And I will say that this happens to be, this is a little too TMI, but it's my dad's name, and it's spelled he spells it the exact same way, or spelled it the exact same way. So I know it was Stephen when he said it, but I feel like there's a reason why everybody's been saying Stephen Curry this whole time, and I'm gonna go with Stephen. So I'm sticking with it until further notice. The narrator has not converted me to making me believe that his name is supposed to be pronounced Stephen Curry. So this is about Steph's rise to superstardom to become the leading 3-point scorer for the NBA of all time. He leads all time in 3 points, and that's a pretty good achievement. That's worthy of a documentary, when you are the best at something. And he's also shorter than me, so it's worth noting that I would probably be considered undersized for the NBA, and I'm considered tall amongst my the real people I interact with on a daily basis. I'm tall. I rarely ever find somebody at my height or taller. So I guess I don't hang out with NBA players enough, but Steph Curry is considered to be small. And because of that, they were worried about his size. They didn't think he'd be able to play in the NBA, and he had to work really hard. And of course he had to work really hard. He mastered his craft. There's that saying about anything you want to be good at, you have to put 10,000 hours of time into before you master it. So anything, whether it's a musician or an athlete or an actor, although that would be weird, 10,000 hours of them sitting down and working out monologues before they got started in their career. I don't know. But any of those documentaries, I just go into them assuming they put in the work. I don't really need to know, that the struggle was real. But this is really about the struggle being real for Steph, and largely about how he was counted out the whole time, and he just worked harder and harder to prove people wrong. He butted heads with his dad, Del Curry, when he was younger, and about putting in the work and putting in the time, and he just kept persevering and kept going for it. And look at where he is now. He just never stopping. uh, co-op pop star. Um, I didn't think this was that tremendous of a documentary. I thought it was fine. I didn't. I think the problem sometimes with living people is they will always have control over what it is that they want you to know about them. So we're always only going to know about Steph what Steph wants us to know about him. He doesn't have to sign off on a documentary that's going to explore any sort of negative side effects about him. If he struggled with alcoholism and he doesn't want people to know about that, then we're not going to know about that. So I always have that trepidation with anybody who I feel like is giving me their life story themselves. You know, I feel like you either have to give in, and sometimes I can see little parts of that in a couple documentaries where the person is still alive, and I'm like, oh, well, they're willing to talk about that, so I suppose, you know, if they're willing to go there, then I guess this is letting everything out, you know. But Steph has a long career and life ahead of him, and I can't imagine he would want anybody to know anything negative or that would besmirch his reputation, that would maybe get his television show canceled or keep Aisha from working, or harm his kids who are still growing up. So we're gonna get what we're gonna get, and that's fine. But then it ends up being a lot of, I'm small and I worked really hard to get here. Now, the most interesting part about this documentary, in a year of documentaries full about people, like we have so many documentaries this year about people. This isn't even the first one about an athlete. This isn't even the first one about an NBA athlete. We had Bill Russell earlier this year, in addition to having other sports documentaries this year. But he's not even the first NBA player to release a documentary about himself. So we're living in a weird age where everybody's getting a documentary. So like there has to be a twist. There has to be something thrown in there that goes, ooh, I didn't know that about you. Ooh, that's cool. Oh, that makes me like you more. Or, oh, I didn't know that. Oh my God, I just feel so bad for you. Something in there, right? That for me was, there's a little bit of focus that's thrown in on his education. And it's sort of like in the middle of the film, there's this little part where we find out that he is actually still trying to pursue his 4-year degree. He hasn't given up on it. It's taking him forever, but he hasn't actually given up on it. He was one of those athletes that came along at a time where he had to go to college first. So he went to a college I'd never heard of and actually played ball for them, and then left and entered the NBA draft, and his career went on. So he never actually got the degree. So at least when we meet him, when he comes down and he starts talking about it, he says this is really important for him. He really wants to show his little girls that, you know, it's important to finish things, and that education is important. He wants his kids to know that. And I think that was the most interesting thing that I learned about Steph Curry, was that on top of everything that he's doing, I guess he's also trying to take like very slowly and finish his degree, maybe like a class a semester, you know, online or whatever, and work his way through his degree and get that 4-year degree. No matter how long it takes, he's just going to keep plugging away at it. And that to me was like, it kind of like blew open my mind, because I was like, oh wow, he doesn't even need to do that. You know, Steph Curry is like that level of rich where he walks in and he's like, honey, I bought a boat. And her response isn't, oh my God, you should have talked to me first. We don't have her response is, another one? You know what I'm saying? I mean, he's like at that level where he has just like screw you levels of money. He could just do whatever he wants. The audio description didn't necessarily give me a huge perspective on his mansion, but I'm guessing he lives in a very nice house. We do go into his house every once in a while. I love the little part where the girl runs up and she's like, "Daddy, can I have snacks?" And I was like, "Girl, you don't need snacks. Like, your snack is probably, there's no way that there's like a Lunchable in the fridge for you." I partially wanted Steph to be like, "Yeah, let's get you a snack," just so I could see like, what does this girl have for a snack? Like, what does she get? I feel like her snacks are far different from like other kids' snacks. Definitely organic, whatever it is. I'm sure it's organic, but yeah, he's already living a semi-charmed life, and he doesn't really need the degree. It's not like his NBA career is going to end and he's going to apply for a job somewhere and they're going to be like, "Ooh, see here, you don't have a bachelor's. So unfortunately, we can't hire you to be our spokesperson, or we can't hire you to be an NBA analyst. we we here have our standards." So he's really doing this for him. He's really doing it just to show people. He's really just completing something because he wants to complete something. He wants to finish something, and that was really all I needed. The rest of it was just like, I know all the rest of the stuff about you. I wanted to learn something I didn't know about you, and that was it. That was the thing. That was the light bulb moment for me about Steph Curry was this part of the film. The rest of it was just like, of course you worked hard. I like I would be way more interested in the documentary if there's an NBA player who just walked in off the street and had no prior NBA experience and just was like natural talent. Maybe he played some street ball or something. He just walked in. He never played for a team, and he's like, "Yo, let me try out." Yeah, and he just makes it to the NBA from the streets. That's a way more interesting documentary to me about the guy whose talent was so natural that he made the NBA without putting in the work. He's like, I do some pickup games from time to time, but most people won't play me because they can't score. So I decided to go to the NBA and see if anybody would play me there. If that person ever exists, please make a documentary about them. But these other athletes who are like, "I worked really hard to get here." Yes, all of you did. Even the ones that don't have the Steph Curry name, who didn't break 3-pointer records, they worked really hard to get there. There was that Disney Plus movie about the Antetokounmpo brothers and how hard they worked to get into the NBA, and it's like, yeah, it's. I know we've seen this. I saw the Michael Jordan documentary. People work hard to get into the NBA. And you are not the smallest person to ever be in the NBA. So I need more. I got a little bit more, but I didn't quite get the kind where I'm like, "Ooh, Steph Curry, underrated, is going to be the best documentary of the year." It's going to blew my mind. I got enough to be able to say, sure. I mean, if you like Steph Curry and you want to watch this documentary, fine. The audio description, like I said, my only question / problem is the Steven part. And until this documentary, I've heard his name pronounced, I don't know, thousands of times. And this is the first time I heard Steven. So I don't really know what to do with that. But, it does have basketball scenes that have to be audio described, and that is really helpful. Usually these documentaries end up being sort of talking head documentaries, but this one also kind of does sit back and kind of capture life a little bit. It tries to capture Steph as he is, like in his natural status out in the wild. Like, crikey, we found ourselves a Steph Curry. So, yeah, it does do that. And in those moments, we get a little bit more description as to what's happening and what's going on. It's not just nonstop talking, like my movie review. So there is a little bit more audio description here than there is in a lot of other talking head documentaries where people just talk, and they just keep bouncing between heads. There are talking head moments where that does happen, and it becomes a little hard to squeeze in the narration. But there are some moments where the audio description gets to pop out, and it's really helpful. So, yeah, overall, this is fine. It's fine, but in a sea of documentaries we seem to be getting this year about people, I think I've already seen better ones. I feel like the Judy Bloom Forever is still up at the top, along with Still, Michael J. Fox story. I feel like those two kind of gave me not just the answer of who are you, but why should I care, and what is it that I don't know about you, all sort of wrapped in one, and answered every single question, and answered it really well and in a creative fashion. This one does a little bit. So, not bad, but and I think people who enjoy basketball will enjoy the documentary more. I think the more you enjoy basketball, I'm sure the more you enjoy just kind of enjoying what Steph has to say. So that's it. I'm going to give Steph Curry, underrated, a B. Maybe that's underrated. I don't know. maybe somebody's going to feel like that's an underrated grade. It's still a decent grade. I'm not failing the documentary. I don't think it was terrible. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I do have a website, macmoviiguy.com. I have Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. You can follow me at all of those at MacTheMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who is doing narration for your favorite films and television series. That's it for me today. Until next time, when I watch something else, I will see you guys on the other side.